There we go. It looks like everything's up and working as it's supposed to again. Must
Yep,
have a lot of the Irish with us.
it is. It's St. Patrick's Day, and just for the heck of it, we have a green background with a collector's hat. It's a green one from many years ago, part of the BORDERPOL Legacy hat collection.
There you go.
That's the only one I have that's green, actually.
What? Oh, looks like I've frozen.
Oh, you'll unfreeze. There you go.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe not.
Could be the leprechauns. There you go. They're playing with you.
Well,
Now you're
totally
gone.
disappeared now.
The leprechauns are doing it to you.
I guess. Maybe we shouldn't have said anything about that.
Oh, there you go. You're back. It's the luck of the Irish.
Well, it just hid me away as I had my little nip of Jamison.
Oh, a little nip, or were you having some Lucky Charms?
Well, because this is an official channel, we can either confirm or deny that that may or may not be the case.
Well, we have a busy schedule here today, Bob.
Yeah, I see. There's quite a lot. You found that new site that we've been peeking at. Border Report. Looks like it's got quite a few interesting stories as well.
Yes.
And it does open up a lot of possibilities for chit chats, that's for sure.
Yeah, they seem to have a pretty good handle on the news on border issues, particularly the southern U.S. border.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, it's pretty busy.
Yeah. That's what they guy was reading. I can't remember where it was now, whether it was that or Border Hawk, where they were talking about El Paso leading the country in apprehensions.
Border Hawk.
Yeah.
Or it might have been this particular site.
But I remember, gosh, when I worked on the border many decades ago now, that it wasn't unusual for that particular sector to have 4,000-5,000 apprehensions in the course of a day, and you know, this is not a new problem, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
No, but we were talking millions now in comparison. I have no idea how they're able to deal with what they deal with.
Just overrun basically is what happens here. But I
mean, the Border Hawk headline today is they got a video that you can watch where thousands of migrants are on top of train cars coming into Juarez, which is quite whoever thought they'd be seeing that kind of movement into the United States. I mean, it looks like it's just completely and totally out of control.
Well, and then a couple of things down from that, 10,000 mostly military age males are preparing to enter from Juarez, followed by the border reporter, quote, "We're not prepared for what's coming," end quote. And as I said, this is not new. It's now in the news, and it's becoming an everyday item of topic for various news stations, news outlets.
And more disturbingly, I mean, they're talking about 10 times higher. This is the next column over. 10 times higher than last year, the number of people at the northern border. I mean, are people leaving Canada at such a rate? I mean, is this place so tough now that they're leaving? That we're having people looking for asylum in the U.S. from Canada?
I think that it's the other way, and I understand some of the concerns of the U.S. lawmakers and the U.S. border officials. It used to be that the northern Canada-U.S. border was not really a big issue. Yeah, there's been illegal crossings. Yeah, there's been a few issues, but it's going to sound awful on my part, but I guess with the lackness laxness, if that's a word, of the process in Canada, where it's almost like, as I joked several episodes ago about the game we used to play as kids. If you crossed the magic line and yelled out all the oxen free, you were basically untouchable. And that's basically what has come up here now. If you make it to Canada, you have so many avenues of appeal, so many reviews, so many loopholes that you have all these people who have, before they can even be removed, have 3 kids. Something's wrong with that picture. And I think from a U.S. point of view, it's not the fact that it's people leaving Canada, it's the people that are in Canada that really wanted to go to the United States in the first place. So if you have your foot in the North American door in Canada, and you've got a huge undefended, what is it, 8,000-kilometer border, yes. it's fairly easy to make your way across. Again, not new. It's been happening probably long before I started the job, and it's going to continue. And I don't know what the answer is there.
Well, it's part of everything else that's broken these days.
Yeah, very much so.
It's just, you just have to essentially shake your head because it's difficult to figure out. Where are the people who can actually do something about this? Are they out? In other words, have they decided they've dropped out and they don't want to be involved?
Well, we've alluded to that as well in some of our broadcasts, where you're looking for the best and the brightest. And unfortunately, the best and the brightest know that they could do the job and they would probably do it effectively. They're just too smart to want to do it.
Yeah.
Why would you put yourself what was it? Why would you do a full Monty, right? And enter politics to have your name dragged hither and yon, and things that you may have done 20, 30 years ago will be brought up. It goes back major Danny Fortin, anyway, whatever his rank happens to be, when he was a cadet in the 80s, like we're talking 90, 2000, 2010, 2020, 30, 40 years ago, to be charged with an offense where it's and acquitted. Why would you want, this is what I think that the best and the brightest are looking at and thinking, why would I want to do that? Who's going to come out of the closet, rightly or wrongly or maliciously, and target me because I want to do something which I think I could do very well?
Yep. No, I think you're over the target with that, and maybe that's precisely why the adults we're looking for in all these various sectors of our society are just going, it ain't worth it. But the thing is, if there's no remedies to fix these things, after a while, it'll just get worse. And then, I don't know how you fix things when it becomes totally dysfunctional. I mean, we're getting there in many ways.
Well, it is, and again, we've alluded to that before. We should stop issuing a challenge because we keep on saying, how can it get any worse? And people do take that as a challenge. And things are getting worse.
You mean there are people saying I can make it worse?
I think so. Yeah.
You may be onto something. You may be onto something. But it's just occasionally you come across the odd sort of bright light on a subject that most people are avoiding, and it's kind of refreshing. I think I sent you that Chris Hedges' report from a couple of days ago, where this guy writes about this proxy war in Ukraine, and he spends an awful lot of paper explaining what a proxy war is, and whose bright idea is this, and why are we being the West attempting to overthrow people all over the place. And he covers, as you saw, a lot of territory there. But
and one it goes back quite a few decades too. So
and he basically outlines where things can go out of control. And when you deal with our era today of basically militaries that are not what they used to be, and the people have access to information like they never had before, and whether the powers to be like it or not, we still have the right to question stuff. They may not like it, but I mean, in the case of what goes on right now, sadly, in Ukraine, he writes about why these proxy wars are hard to control. And when, we start mixing up the good guys with the bad guys, and we're not even sure who the good guys are. And then he goes on in his article, which is lengthy, so I'm going to read through it. But, he says things like, these things have a bad habit of expanding. And if he goes back in history from in the Vietnam and era, and some of the issues that spin off from these proxy wars, where he says these armies that are given all kinds of weapons have no accountability when significant amounts of the stuff ends up in the black market or the hands of warlords or terrorists. And then he even went so far as to say that last year CBS News, which is mainstream news in the US, says that 30% of the weapons sent to the Ukraine go to the front lines. The rest of the stuff, they don't know where it went to. So this is a widespread diversion of a lot of hardware and money and so forth. So, this has a way of really becoming a real problem, never mind the unintended consequences to the people who live in the neighborhood, the economies, and so forth, and the tens of thousands of people killed. And
well, it goes back very reminiscent of the book and the movie, Charlie Wilson's War.
Yes.
It starts off with we're going to help this country because we don't like you. And then when you get yourself embroiled in a turmoil, then that country says, well, what goes around comes around. So, well, we may not agree with this. We don't like you. So, and where does it end? I guess this goes back to what we started with here, is it's like a bunch of kids on a playground. And, next thing you know, it's the old fight, and everybody's running to watch it. And, nowadays everybody pulls out their cameras and films it so they can get on their 30 seconds of fame somewhere. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is. And like, I'm not going to say it because I know somebody will take it as a challenge, but is it possible to get any deeper in the hole here? I don't know.
Well, it seems to me that it is possible to go into the hole deeper than we are, simply because it's still not tough enough on folks yet before they come to their senses. I think that's really what it comes down to, sadly. And then you have the silly season that begins in the spring, basically, in politics, because for some reason there's all sorts of time on the hands of the various leaders between the winter and the summer to make up stuff. It's just a traditional thing, and you're going, well, where does this lead us? And one of those, particularly here in Canada, is we have this fellow Johnson, who's going to be looking at well the external interventions into elections in this country from the People's Republic of China. And, you know, the question now is, do you actually believe there's going to be a serious look at this? Hard to say.
Well, I think the man himself, I think, is probably pretty straightforward, an honest kind of guy. I mean, he was appointed by a conservative to be the governor general. The fact that he happens to be a Trudeau family friend kind of, you know, puts that off on one end of the teeter-totter, balanced off with the fact that he was appointed to a very high position, regardless of his political swing. But I don't think that it's the answer. You know, I don't think a public inquiry is the answer either. It becomes another waste of money that will drag on for who knows how long, and by the time they come up with an answer, everybody else forgot what the question was.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things just came up as we were about to sign on is that Facebook has decided that they're no longer going to take down posts claiming that COVID-19 was man-made or manufactured. The company has reported in Politico that they're going to no longer treat man-made COVID as a crackpot idea. So Facebook's policy tweet arrives in support and surges in Washington for a full investigation on how COVID actually started. This is an enormous climb down by these folks who were merrily doing all kinds of stuff to people who questioned the science there. Now all of a sudden, because it's in the interest to take shots at the Chinese, I guess it's okay to question where the COVID came from. As well as the Journal of Medicine reported, I think yesterday, and I think I got this right, that the efficacy of these shots after 6 months to a year are zero. So as a vaccine, there's really no evidence that it functions as a vaccine anymore. It simply wears off. You have to keep getting the shots if you.
I think we have to get it out of our mind. This is not a vaccine. It's going to be like a flu shot or a shingle shot, or it's going to kind of. It's going to be a yearly thing, I guess. So drop the vaccine thing. Vaccine, you know, to my mind, although large in my alleged mind, is I think I'm probably right up there with Einstein, but a vaccine to me means you get a shot and you're never going to get sick again.
Well, we saw that with polio. We saw that with smallpox. We've seen it with I mean, why do infants get the shots that actually do what they're supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know. That's another issue, and it's going to be one of those things that, regardless of if they can pinpoint it down to a longitude and latitude where this thing broke free, it kind of outlines things like that have no borders. We've had discussions with the Internet Identity Card organization, and they're kind of proving that as well. You know, you get on the internet, it doesn't know borders or boundaries other than what countries try and impose or stop. And I kind of wonder if that's where the future lies in an organization like ours as well.
Well, I've reached out to the chap that runs the Internet Identity Card program, and it's a pretty advanced technology that he himself has invented and has patented. And you know, he's been a border poll supporter for many years, So I'm hoping that we can get him on an upcoming broadcast rather soon and have him explain, what the program does to protect the identity of legitimate uses and the identity of people who would use that program or that identity card. I have one actually for some years. I think the problem is that it has limited application in the commercial world at the moment, because he's been very careful not to let it slip out of his hands in terms of its use, because it's like the guy who invents a car that with a magic carburetor, that if that really existed, why did the patents all disappear? So somebody bought it, and that was the end of that. So there is a fear there, which I think he's
and a legitimate one, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But
I remember meeting him in was it Prague? No, it was in Spain.
Yeah, Madrid.
15 in
our
Madrid.
last forum meeting. Yes.
And I consider myself fairly technologically advanced, but I sure felt like a Luddite when I started listening to what he was saying. Just unbelievable with the technology and where it could go and what it could do. And I'm turning a bit green here.
It's the luck of the Irish again. That's funny. You never saw it. You go green.
Who knows?
Maybe you do need a little Jameson's there.
Wow. It's certainly not the green beer, that's for sure.
No, but anyway, hopefully we'll get Michael on board.
Yeah.
We'll have him explain stuff. But that exactly is kind of, I guess we should let the cat out of the bag that from our perspective, we're going to proceed with BorderPol and expand our media prowess and try to get more information from people who are interested in our community, and to spread the word on what they do and how they do it and where they do it, and try and get some different ideas into the BorderPol community on managing migration, little challenge to some of our conventional thinkers, so we've given it some thought, and we're officially announcing today on St. Patrick's Day that we're going to expand our media participation and basically go back to where we started, which was back in 20 years ago this week when we started. We had a magazine, and we had little media blurbs through pamphlets and whatever that we gave out at meetings we attended in the early days. But we've matured in technology wise that we can reach a lot of people for a lot less cost, but we can also attract, I think, and we've seen with some of the analysis of our podcast and video propagation, it looks pretty good. So we get to keep our nonprofit approach, we get to keep our neutral, non-aligned approach, and we get to attract people with divergent opinions to our organization, loosely coalescing around the idea of managing human mobility and commenting on border policies, and all of which leads to, if we have better cooperation and collaboration and communication among our peers, then we make essentially a safer world, because people have more exquisite knowledge, I would say, of the other person's views on things. And if we can be the platform to facilitate the meeting of folks in the middle,
Yeah. Well, I guess that goes back to the ideal. If you put the left side and the right side together and everybody kind of meets up in the middle, then do we do ourselves out of a job? Because BorderPol may not be needed anymore.
Yeah, well,
and in an ideal world, I guess that wouldn't bother me one bit, being able to, can't we just all get along?
Exactly. All right, well, today's St. Patrick's edition is
Darn close to being a wrap.
darn close, darn close. All right, well, enjoy your day and welcome our visitors to the podcast and the video, and we'll be working on some new stuff.
Yeah, not sure what that's going to be, but we'll certainly be thinking about it.
Yeah. All right, Bob, we'll take it easy.
You too. And to everybody out there, once again, if you like us, hit that like button. If you got an anti-opinion, let us know. We're certainly open to that. And if you'd like to join us on one of the podcasts, we got an email address that you can send it to.
Absolutely. borderpol@borderpol.org.
You bet.
All right, Bob. Take it easy.
And you as well.
Yep. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day.